Hello everyone, and welcome to a new video. If you're new here, my name is Mohammed. We are doing a training for Elastic Certified Engineering or Engineering exam, and today will be the first video about data management topic. In the previous one, we did just an overview about the exam and we prepared the environment. If you did not saw the first video, then feel free to go back to it and then you continue with this one. So today we will define an index that satisfies a given set of requirements. So if you new to Elastic, the first thing that you need to understand is index. What is an index? So there is, or to answer this question, I will put a link for this blog. They well explain what's the difference between relational database and non-relational database, like Oracle here, for example, and Elasticsearch, right? In relational database, we have databases, and if we go inside or deeper, we will find tables, and for each table, we will find columns and rows, which is not the case for a non-relational database like Elasticsearch. In Elasticsearch, we have a cluster, and inside the cluster, we have an index. So index or indices is similar to table here. So when we said index A or index B, so it's like table A or table B. And charts are a part of the index. Like in an index, we find one or multiple shards. We will see in the details the different type of shards, like primary shards and replica, and we will see all the details. And inside the shards, we will find our document with the key value pair, right? So this is an overview about or the difference between a relation or a definition for the indices. More details are here, like how we write, how we read the index, like how we differentiate between, like the logic between a relational database or normal database and non-relational database. So this is, I will put the link of this blog in the video. Right, now let's jump to the first thing. So today what we will see, so now we understand or we know what's the index, and let's see here in the exam they said given requirements mean you will get a question like to create an index with a specific requirement. So in the index we have multiple parts, right? We have the settings, we have the mappings, we have alias, we have also, when we talk about the mapping, we have dynamic mapping, we have explicit mapping, and we have also templates, and finally we have ELM or index lifecycle management. So we will try to cover every one from these 6 points in the details, right? So with that being said, let's jump to the documentation. So another point, during the exam, you will be able to access to the documentations at any time during the exam. But as you know, the documentation is really huge. So you have to get comfortable with the documentation. And if you search for something, you know where you can find it, right? So let's say you forget how to define the template or mapping or settings or whatever. So you know where you can find this configuration. So if you like, okay, forget how to type it or the syntax or whatever, or you want to copy an example, so here you can quickly jump to the documentation and you get an example, right? All right, so we start with the settings, and during the settings, like we will see, we have two types. We have a static and we have a dynamic settings. The dynamic settings, we can change it, right? Like we create the index, and the index is live, it's working. We have data there. We run search aggregations on the index, and we want to modify it. Here we have to type. There is some fields, or there is some settings where we can modify it, and there is some others we cannot. It's a static, right? We will see. We will start with the static index settings. So an index number, or sorry, the first one is the number of shards, right? We said the shard, it's part of the index, and there is a primary shard and there is a replica. In this case, we have a shard, right? This is the primary. When it's just like this, a shard, this is the primary. The copy, we will call it replica. We will find it in the dynamic. So here, if you define your index to have, for example, 1 as a default value, or if you give it 2 or 3, and for a reason or another, or during the exam, they ask you to change it to 4, to 5, to 1, you cannot change it. So here, like, you cannot change. Why? Because it is static. So if you want to create, or if you want to modify it, you cannot. What you need to do is, like, if you want to change the static, you have to create a new index. Like, you cannot change the current one. The same with the number of routing shards, right? The codec, the mode. So all the lists of these variables are in the static. So we will not go through all of them, but the logic here, we cannot modify it. If it is a must, like we have to modify, then we need to create a new index with the new configuration. I give an example of the primary shard, or the shards. If I set it like the primary, if I set it 1 and I want to make it 2, I cannot modify it. What I need to do is create a new index with 2 shards, and then we reindex the data that is here in this index A to the new index, we call it B, for example. This is about the static. We have another type of settings, which is the dynamic. So the dynamic, we can modify it and we can change it. But there is some exceptions. So the first one is the replica. So the replicas is the copy of the primary shard. So every time we have, like when we define an index, we said one primary shard and 1 replica. So here the default one is 1. We will have 1 replica for every shard, right? So here, if I want to modify it, right, I want to make it 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, then I can change the replica. The same if I want, for example, this parameter or this settings, auto expand replica, I can modify it at any time. Here, search, ideal, after, refresh interval, all of these dynamic settings, I will not go through all of them, but here, wherever it's under the dynamic settings, we can modify it, right? Now, before we jump to another point, let's go to a real example and let's define our index, right? So we go, if I go here, so our environment is up and running, I will go to the stack management, and in the first, like you see here, the default, or in the data, we have index management. So as you can see, we have no, or like the first page, you show no index. But if you want to click here to hide, it's hide. Like if you want to show the system indices, then you can click. And you see here we have a bunch of indices, and if we want to see what we have, for example, for this index, if you click just on the index, you will get a summary. So here the health is green. We will talk about the different states of the health. We have green, yellow, and red, but we will not discuss about it now. For example, here the primary shard we have 1, the number of documents we have 1, the storage, aliases, status, replica, doc delete, and primary storage size. So this is a summary. Now settings, if we open the settings, we will find a lot of settings. So here, for example, we see the index lifecycle management, or the ELM. We will talk about it later. We will see, for example, the number of shards, the replica. So if we just search for here, number of shards, you see. So this is from like this settings, or this setting, this one, number of shard, it's part of the static. we cannot modify it. It's here, right? The replica, for example, if we search for replica, we find the replica, it's 0. If I want to make it 1, I can modify it at any point of time. I can come here and do the modification, right? Now let's create our first index that have a name and have primary shard and have one replica. So to create, I can click or go to DevOps. So let me remove this one. So I do put, I give a name, demo exam 1, and here I open settings, and here 1 second, if I search for shard, right? So here number of shard, you click, it's 1. If I want to go and search for a replica, then I find also a number of replica, right? So this is our index. If I run, so it's created, right? We have our index. Now let's see what we have in our index. So if I run just like this, what we'll have, we will have here, for example, the aliases is empty, mapping is empty. The settings, this is the important for us. So what we specify the number of shards, and we specify the number of replica. Here we have some other, this is the name of our index. This is when it's created, right, in Linux format, or I don't know what's this dates format. This is the ID, right, and the version of our index, right? All right, now let's modify. So we said we can modify the number of the replica. Why? Because it's in the dynamic settings. So we can do like this demo. We call the settings endpoint. We go like this. It will be something like this. So it will be second index. I will just copy paste this value. So here, as you can see, it is like when let's run this get. So it's 1 primary, 1 replica. So if I do this to acknowledge, now if I run this one, so here, as you can see, the replica is 2. So now if I want to modify the primary shard like this, sorry, let me just remove this. If I run this command, so here it said can't update non-dynamic settings, right? Like here you cannot, right? We get to the end of this video. Let me know in the comment section if you have any question. With that being said, I'll see you in the next one.